Hello and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. I'm Brandy and this is Jeff, and we are going over the book by Grant Cardone, Be Obsessed or Be Average. So I hope you guys are enjoying this book so far. I really like Grant's works, and he's fun to read, and I like who he is. He's very entertaining. So chapter 3. What to be obsessed with. Now, we've already talked about like good obsessions and bad obsessions, but some people need to figure out what exactly their obsession is. You may be young and just starting out in the world and you're just trying to figure it out in general, or you may be confused or going through a life transition and you're just trying to figure out, okay, now where do I need to go from here? So there's 3 questions that Grant asked himself when he was trying to figure this out, because he came back, he was abusing drugs at one point. He turned himself in and he went through the rehabilitation center, and when he left there and went back home for the first time, the first thing he did was sat down and made a list of what are the goals that I'm going to set. He also asked himself these 3 questions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What's my purpose, and what is going to get me excited? And he's like, these are questions I repeatedly keep asking myself to make sure that I stay on track. So when you identify why you want to achieve something, you can fully and completely get obsessed with achieving it. This obsession is what you need to blow away any barrier or opposition you run into on the way to your goal. So you can obsess about anything. We've already, whoops, there we go. Hold on, there we go. Now I have my place. So obsession and purpose are related, but they are not the same. So for Grant, he was obsessed with getting rich, but his purpose was to make sure that his family never had to go through the same thing that he had to go through as a kid. His father passed away when he was young, and his family went through financial devastation, and they were constantly worried about money. He's like, this isn't something that I want for my family, and if anything ever happened to me, I want to make sure that my family's taken care of, and this is not going to happen. So as you find your purpose and identify those things worthy of becoming obsessed with, remember that you don't need to love your job or even do what you are passionate about to get obsessed enough to be successful. He didn't like his car sales job in the beginning. He's like, but by becoming obsessed with it and becoming really, really good at it, he's like, I actually eventually learned to love it. And as I became more successful in that area, that's what led me to doing what I really wanted to go do, which was go train and then go do real estate. So sometimes you kind of have to do the things that you don't like to do to be able to get you in a position to go do the things that you really want to do. And a lot of people kind of confuse this. In the beginning, it's going to take the most work and the most sacrifice. You might not like your job. However, like in network marketing, we always teach that you need to keep your full-time job and then do this on the side part-time to then create your wealth. And when that money, we always teach that the lowest month that you have, if the lowest month that you have in MLM is the month that could still pay your bills, that's when you can go full-time. But we don't really recommend a full-time thing. That's something that's very commonly said in the industry, but really what you want to do is, this was something that Jeff actually taught me and he learned somewhere else. There's 3 ways to be wealthy. You need a high-paid skill, you need the scalable business, and then you want something that's a high ROI. So the high-paid skill is your full-time job that you have right now. And the scalable business may be an MLM, network marketing, whatever company that you're in. But the key is you never want this one to replace your high-paid skill, because business goes up and down. And if something happens, like we're all stuck at home, you're kind of in a bad situation. What you want to do with that money from the scalable business is that you want to go invest it in a can't talk today. High ROI. which could be real estate, anything that has it that gives you a return of 10% or more. So that's what you want to do with it. Now, some people do choose to go full-time in MLM. I don't want to do that because it does. It goes up and down, and there's different situations, and I would rather go invest it in something else. And then when you do it that way, it's a lot more fun because you don't have to close every single person. I'm only wanting to go get the people who want to actually work with me. Anybody else who's not into it, I'm like, okay, cool. Just send me a referral if you do find somebody who would be a good fit for what we're doing, and I'll see you another time. We're not very big on hard closing. We only want the people who really want to work and really see where the things are going. And we don't want to have to hard close every single person, because the moment you become desperate, it shows on your face and people can feel it. So we never want to be in that situation. So that's how we do things when we're going out there and doing stuff. And that's how we like to do it. So figure out what your purpose is. There is a very long list of questions that he has to ask himself, and I'm going to probably read 2 columns of this for sake of time because there is a lot of questions. But as I'm reading these, you could go back through, or if you guys have the book, you could follow along and actually write these down. Anytime you go through one of these books and they have an exercise, don't just read it. You need to write them down. The exercise is there for a reason. It's not just there for you to just read it. You need to actually practice it. So if you guys are following along with us, here are the questions. So don't second guess yourself about the answer. Write down the first response that pops into your head. You don't have to do it in the comments, but you can do this on piece of paper at home. So personal interests. What excites me now? What is so exciting to me that I would do anything to accomplish it? What bores me? What is the thing or things I have always wanted to do? And what don't I want to do, no matter what the payoff is? And then what do I do that causes me to forget to eat? And what have I been interested in since I was a child? So that's the first one. And then money motivation. What am I willing to do for no money? What would I like to do for a lot of money? And if money had nothing to do with my life, what would I do with my time? What amount of money would give me security I need? What amount of money would I need to have choices? And what amount of money would I need to have financial freedom? And what amount of money would I need to really make a difference for the better? So that's just some of them. There's a lot more. I'd recommend that you buy the book and then go through those steps and really think about what you want. And I did the same. I have it on a separate sheet of paper, but these goals are also going to change as you go through life as well. So you want to constantly keep re-asking you these questions. Grant sits down every single day and he writes down his goals. It may be the same goal, but he always writes them as if he's already achieved them. Because a lot of people, when we do a lot of goal setting, it's, I want $1 million, just as an example, because I'm going to use that. It's easy. So rather than saying I want, he says I have $1 million in my savings account right now. And so what that actually does, it puts action to the goal. And because when you say I want, it just is a dream and there's no action behind it. But then when you say I have, it puts action to the dream. And then you have to actually do the steps to actually achieve that goal. He's like, now this goal may seem incredibly unachievable. Like it's so out of reach, I can't even see it. He's like, however, this is what makes me strive, because I have to work to get to a point where then it seems like I'm going to get there. So that is what I have for this chapter today. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you to keeping your obsessions fresh and daily goal practice.
Okay, so Tony Robbins says the quality of your life is based on the qualities of the questions you ask yourself. And most people get horrible results or little results because they ask themselves terrible questions. Like, why am I here? No, why does this always happen to me? I can't believe this. So, something that I've learned from John Maxwell is great leaders ask great questions. Now, how do you get to the point where you start asking those kind of questions? You basically have to be in a situation where you're around people who are leaders, who are asking those questions too. You want to get to a mastermind of people. If you're in the profession of leading, direct sales, network marketing, MLM, even if you're a solo business entrepreneur, it's great to be around other people. If you own one truck, get around people who own 3. If you own 3, get around people who own 10, and so on and so forth. You're always looking for somebody who is beyond where you're at to take, not necessarily direct advice from, but to learn from, because sometimes you can just avoid mistakes, avoid pitfalls that you don't necessarily need to go through. So, Grant does have a ton of questions here to ask yourself, and those questions basically lead you in the direction of, self-discovery, and sometimes it opens the door to solve an issue before it even gets there. Personal question, he said, what's exciting me? Money question, what am I willing to do for no money at all? Like, what kind of excites me where, I would help people regardless. Skills and talents. What can I do better than anybody else? Another area. So these are just, I didn't write all the areas down. Personal, motivation, skills, talents. That's kind of where I left off. So he said, you also want to do market research. Market research is so important to your own company, your own product. And I've just found a lot of people inside of our industry, meaning direct sales, network marketing, they don't know what's going on in their own industry. Now they're sold by their company on what they're supposed to think about the industry. Like, I've talked to people and they're like, well, all companies are like this and all companies. I was like, did you research that or did somebody tell you that from stage? And they're like, they get that puzzled look like when you walk by, the dogs and the cats at, the pet store, and they kind of get that, and you can tell they're like, okay, that's a weird question. And again, the questions you ask yourself, right? So, what great idea have I had for starting a company or investing in something that I haven't really followed through on? Another great question. So, legacy. What do I want to be remembered for? Inspiring people. Who are the 5 people that I admire? Who are the 5 people I need to be around would be a really good question. Lifestyle. What makes me feel good about what's going on? So keep your obsessions fresh. How do you do that? It says the key to trying your obsession to your purpose, or the key to tying, not trying, the key to tying your obsession to your purpose is to continue to set new goals for yourself. Daily goal practice. So writing your goals every day. So this is actually something that comes from not just Grant, but the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill said if you're focused on anything, what you want to do is you want to write the goal and read the goal every single morning and every single evening. Every single morning and every single evening. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to supplant that goal, that idea into your mind where it becomes part of your subconscious thought. That's the reason why you want to write things as if they've happened, because when you supplant it as a thought that's already happened, your brain starts working on it subconsciously, trying to figure out how to do it. It would be like, how do I obtain $1 million? That would be a great question to ask. How do I attain $1 million? Legally, sometimes you have to throw that in there depending on who you are. Legally, how do I make $1 million? How do I make $1 million in the company I'm in? And I'll be real honest, this is, a common problem inside the industry. Most of you couldn't show me on paper how to make $1,000 in your company. I know what you say. Well, you just get a lot of people. Well, how many? I don't know. How much volume does each person have to do? I don't know. Where do you have to put these people in your team to make $1,000? I don't know. How do you make $1,000 residually based, instead of off of bonuses and this, that, and the other? Because a lot of people come to me with like the bonus thing. Well, we make $1,000 if we get this, 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 and the bonus. I was like, so you have 6 qualifications to get to $1,000. That's not necessarily a good thing because most people get confused after 2. So do you know how to get to $1,000 in your own company? If you don't know how to get to $1,000, you for sure don't know how to get to $1 million. So start with 1,000, start with 500, start with actually just figuring out what it takes to actually make money back inside of your company. That'd be a good thing to show people. So the goal is something you seek to achieve. Purpose is the reason you do something. The goals of the obsessed are always a bit out of reach. So, people who are really striving for something set goals. In the beginning, when you first do goal setting, the reason there are levels in the company, is so that way you can hit each level and climb the ladder. I have people, a lot of times I'll sit down and be like, where do you want to be? And they tell me, well, I want to be at the top of the company. Okay, well, how soon do you want to complete? This is kind of like the reality test that I have. Well, how fast do you want to complete the first level? Well, I'm going to have 7,500,000 people in by the end of such and such, and I want to make $10 million. Okay, when do you want to hit the first level of the company? And they can't tell me because they're trying to I'm trying to think big. I'm like, that's fine thinking big, but you have to hit the first level to get to all the other levels. So until you make a decision on hitting that first level, and it's almost like I'm going to avoid the reality of doing the work. What I really want to do is I want to fantasize, I want to hypnotize myself of what's going to happen if a bunch of people get in. And if a bunch of people get in, and a bunch of people get in, and a bunch of people get in. And I had this argument with somebody. I was like, is the problem with the delusional dreams? Is the problem with the delusional dreams inside the industry? Is it a problem of the industry? Is it a problem of the people? And I kind of went back and I listened to a lot of stuff that I listened to in the very, 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 very beginning. And here's the problem. It wasn't them giving unrealistic information. It was me being unrealistic because I had no idea what it really took to even get one person in, let alone 10,000. So I don't necessarily see it as a problem of the industry as much as a problem of the people. People have been tied to a linear income that does not fluctuate, that does not go up and down, other than the fact of I have a job or I don't have a job. That's when it fluctuates. But they stay within a certain income bracket basically their whole life. So when they're told that they can expand that income bracket to any level, what happens is their brain goes lottery, not, hard work, multiplication, leadership. And I think that's why we get some of the delusional goals, delusional dreams inside the industry. And I'll give you, for instance, somebody who doesn't do math, I guess would be the best way to put it, tells me they're going to make $1 billion in the industry, but they haven't been able to figure out how to go contact the people they know. I'm like, that's delusional. That's lying to yourself. Now, if you say, hey, look, I'm going to figure this out in the next 5 years, I'm going to for sure get to 6 figures, probably twice that much. And if I'm super, super lucky, I might even be able to get to 500,000. I was like, okay, those are 3 numbers that make sense. But I have same conversation with other people, and they're like, where do you want to be in 5 years? I'm going to make $70 million. I'm like, okay, so this person is unrealistic at this point. How do you teach somebody like that? The best thing to do is love them anyway, compliment them anyway, get them into, a personal development mode as fast as possible. So hopefully the personal development will work on them and kind of straighten some of that stuff out. It is not our goal. Listen to me. It is not your goal to coach your people. It's not your goal. In fact, if you're spending the majority of the time coaching people, you are royally screwing up inside of network marketing and MLM. That's not your goal. That's not your job. Your job is to basically set an example of what to go do and bring on more people. The biggest problem with the industry is, people. The greatest probably greatest thing about the business is people, but also the hardest thing about the business is people, bringing people on board and then training them and teaching them what to do. The best way to train somebody what to do is actually show them what to do by doing it. They talk about, if you want to see the death of a direct sales business, the first death starts when you stop doing the activity and you start teaching just what to do, but you're not doing it. I've been guilty of this. I could raise, both hands and both feet. Many times have I done this. Joanna, how are you? Hopefully everybody's healthy and happy, and going to enjoy the 71-degree weather, because we're going to have like the nicest day probably this year here in Indiana. So that's kind of nice. With everything else that's going on, at least we have a nice day. So delusional people get in, regardless. Your job is to set the example. If you don't set the example, what happens is a lot of times people start teaching instead of doing. The only thing worse than teaching instead of doing is trying to teach the teachers how to teach rather than doing. Then you just have a lot of people telling people what to do. Nobody wants to be told what to do. They want to be led by basically the activity. So that's kind of what to focus on in the very beginning. When you don't have the results, you focus on the activity. You track the activity, and there is a threshold that will bend. And what I mean by that is there's a tipping point. The tipping point becomes the point at which there's so much activity, there's so much going on, that even messing it up works in your favor. And most people never get to that activity level. If you can get to that activity, then here's what I mean. In the beginning, when you don't know what you're doing, the first goal to set is can I show this to 15 people in a month? 15 different people in a month. Show what? Well, you're going to basically present your business to them. So this is something that we actually teach inside of our school on Sundays. So there is a school online. That's what I and Brandy and Bess do. So we have a school online that basically teaches direct sales, MLM, some of the coaching, some of the stuff that we're talking about. Not because I'm perfect, not because I've done everything, but I've been able to recruit about 500 people frontline. We have built 2 teams to about 5,000 people. So I don't know everything, but I know some stuff. And what we're talking about is the way in which to recruit people, the process. When you learn how to present, you become independent. And I don't know about you, the whole goal of MLM direct sales is to be independent and not be dependent upon having to be on the phone all the time, having to be following up all the time, having to all this craziness that's going on in the industry. I was taught basically how to do this to set people free where they're independent of me and they can do this. If they need my help, I'm there. But it's a way where and this is a phrase used and lied about in the industry constantly. And the phrase is system dependent versus people dependent. If 3-way calls are the main way in which you're transferring information, you're a people dependent business. Think about it. It requires a different person to be on the phone with my person to get the job done. That's a person dependent business. Why? Because there's only so many people. So the presentation that you want to give is 5 things. One is you got to go over the company. There's about a half a dozen facts you have to tell somebody about the company. There's about a half a dozen facts you have to tell somebody about the need in the marketplace. There's about a half a dozen facts about the product, half a dozen facts about the compensation, half a dozen facts about the timing or the talent. The timing or the talent is basically where you're at with building structuring. Sometimes that sale is going to be, the tipping point of, hey, we just got started. That's our timing. We just got started. We're building the foundation. You're in phase 1. Sometimes it's like you're in phase 5. Phase 5 is the company's huge. We have all the success. Now it's self-evident. Now we have so many people making X number of dollars that we have people who really haven't been successful in the past succeeding quickly. That's a benefit too. So you have to learn what are the benefits of your company. Where are you at timing wise? The talent is here's some of the people that we work with. Here's some of the people that we work with, and here's why. How do you get the presentation in front of people? The other day, I think I had one of my best days. I had 7 presentations in one day in about 3.5 hours. Yesterday I did 2. The day before that I did 4. And I'm only working an hour to maybe 3.5 hours was a long time the other day. But it took me about an hour to set up those 7 presentations. How am I doing that? That's what everybody wants to know. Because my goal, okay, so you start out with 15. That's kind of a realistic number. You start with 15 presentations. That's what the presentation is. I was able to do 15 in like 4 or 5 days. How did I do that? Well, I text message the person first. I suggest text message or Facebook message, hey, how are you? What's going on? And then I have a very simple contact I use, which is, can you do me a favor? I want to tell you something I'm working on during this craziness. So if you run into the right person, you can refer them to me. Most people are starving for human contact right now. They want to talk regardless. Now, here's the problem. When you call, you have to let them talk too. Let them tell you everything and then say, oh, okay, well, real quick, I just need 10 minutes. I just want to tell you what's going on. But if you let them talk first and get out everything that they're scared of and everything that they think and everything that they watch and everything that's going on good and bad and did you hear, once you get through all that, then you can present. The problem is most of you who are new, who don't know what you're doing, will try to talk over the top of them and try to get what you're doing out first. That is a mistake. Build rapport first. Build, communication first. Let them talk first. You always want to be the person who talks last in this situation. And it'll work out really well in your favor. Now, I'm doing leads. For those of you who don't do leads, it makes it a whole lot easier. Oh my gosh. It's so much easier. It's so much easier talking to somebody who's looking for what you're doing versus trying to force it upon somebody. That's just the way I've done it.
Is this recorded? This will also be uploaded to YouTube, James, so if you want to go back and rewatch it, you'll be able to find it there as well.
So this is just how I put, this information in front of people so fast. And here's the thing, there are people who are way more successful than me at doing this. But I challenge them on how much time they're putting in and how much effort they're putting in and how much training you have to have versus what I'm doing and the minimal amount of time I'm putting in, and there's no stress at all. People are freaking out over, stressing out over, oh my God, my Facebook account's deleted and I've spammed so many people, nobody wants to talk to me and I can't get people on the phone. Guys, I get, here's the number of objections I get. These are the objections I get. I get 0 objections, 0. I don't get people telling me I don't want to hear what you're doing. I don't get people asking me is a pyramid. I don't get any of that. None of it. No rejection. No. Sometimes I can't get people on the phone because they're busy and there's stuff going on in their life. But that's not because of the business. That's because they're busy or they're a really terrible time manager. So my theory is I built what I do. My system is built around there's 3 guys. There's 3 of the guys that I've seen that, one of them by far is the most successful person ever in direct sales and network marketing. He had a leg of his business that was over 1 million people. One group. He had 50 other groups rocking, but one leg was 1.4 million, I think, at one point. There's no one who's been more successful than this guy. Money-wise, this one individual has collected checks. He's still collecting checks and he's passed away. He passed away at 79 years old 2 years ago. His family's still collecting checks. But he personally, while he was alive, made more money than most companies' revenue in a year. I know to date he's collected over $500 million in commissions. $500 million in commissions. There are companies that aren't doing $500 million. So this is his personal income. Every opportunity leads. You don't get these objections. True. So that's basically what I wanted to share for today. So tomorrow we're going over chapter 4, Grant Cardone, Be Obsessed, Be Average. So if you want information on the school, we're going to put the link out. If you want information on that training, that teaching, there's a free book that you can get that talks about how to get somebody to say yes every single time, at least on the front end to get the presentation out there. We're going to put that link up.
Yep. And the link will be coming from Bess, guys, so she will be popping in on here to put that link as well. And also, if you guys would like the notes for this chapter, I will put a link for that as well. Go enter your email into the link. Please do not put your email in the comments. I don't want people to be spammed because everybody is able to get on here, and we don't want that.
Yep.
So you're able to go do that. And like I said, we do have a YouTube channel, so if you guys would like to go back and rewatch these, I am labeling them. So if there's a specific book that we go over that you want to go back to, I do have those all on YouTube. So with that, everybody enjoy this wonderful, beautiful day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Awesome.